topics from Bhagavad-Gita have become very hard to understand at the present time because of the propagation of anti-Vedic ideologies. All these anti-Vedic ideologies are forms of ayoga, which means individualism or doing everything for oneself. This individualism comes in three main forms at present. First, it comes from monotheistic religions in which God is separate from the soul and each soul is separate from the other souls. Monotheistic religions don't have a conception of whole and part. So by following monotheism, each soul thinks of himself as separate from the other souls and God because they are all separated in theology. The second main source of individualism is gross materialism, which doesn't even accept a God or soul, so there isn't even a common creator or ancestor. Rather, life comes out of a chemical soup and ends at the time of death. While it exists, life has no purpose other than pleasure. So, this idea of life as pleasure makes us highly individualistic. The third main source of individualism is impersonalism, that accepts that some soul or spirit exists in each person or body, but doesn't see any supreme soul or spirit beyond oneself. Again, each individual spirit tries for individual liberation from the material world and sees social duties as a burden, bondage, or slavery. The attempt to attain liberation entails the renunciation of social duties, and it again makes a person highly individualistic. In this case, the person's aspirations for liberation entail the renunciation of their duties towards this family, society, and so on. These are the three main contributors to individualism. But for the sake of completeness, we can add a fourth category, which is not intellectually justified individualism, but simply a fact of life for nearly all people struggling to survive in today's world. Their lives are so hard that they can't think beyond the current life. The Bhagavad Gita calls these four classes of people Asuras, Naradhama, Maya Aparitagyan, and Mudhas. All these four classes of people reject yoga, which means dedicating their lives to Ishvara. Due to the innate idea of separation in each one of them, they cannot see nature as interconnected and interdependent things. Due to their extreme preoccupation with the body, they cannot see how the Atma is separate from the body. Each individualist thinks of himself as the center of the world rather than putting God at the center. So even if he talks about God, he treats God as his servant, provider, and supplier. Thereby, he can never develop any genuine understanding of Ishvara. Every individualist suffers from double standards because he expects a lot and gives back little. He does all things that are immoral either through neglect of duty or because he believes that once he dies he won't have to deal with the consequences of his actions, or because he thinks his sins will be forgiven, or because he is so fearful of his own life that he doesn't think about right or wrong. All individualists are highly arrogant and they believe that they are masters of the world. So it is impossible for them to accept that they are just puppets in the hand of Kala, being dragged through life like an animal by its master. Finally, the individualist never thinks about serving and pleasing Ishvara. In fact, he feels offended if we ask him to serve because his entire existence is based on selfishness. So we cannot expect any kind of selfless devotion, and therefore we cannot expect any yoga. So the central problem of individualism destroys the understanding of all the six topics of Bhagavad Gita. Individualists always prefer monotheism, materialism, impersonalism, and survivalism, and their minds are mostly incapable of understanding other than this.